Welcome to eWay Podcasts from the world of CRM, business, and entrepreneurship. Today, we'll talk about spin selling and why it's still a useful selling technique. We'll also talk about how to ask good questions to make your clients realize that your product or service will solve all their problems. Let's talk about what these questions are and when to ask them. Today's topic is spin selling. It's an easy technique. During a meeting, the salesperson asks the client questions that makes closing the deal easier. The first part of the podcast will focus on the theory this concept is based on. During the second part, we'll present 4 types of questions that spin selling uses, and we'll also give you some real-life examples. The third part will present applications of this technique in today's world full of technology and social networks. Here, we'll also talk about the most useful and used question type. Then, we'll let you know why salespeople must know how to use the information and how to ask the right questions at the right time. And as a bonus, we'll tell you how you can combine the use of modern technology and spin selling to become the best salesperson around. We believe that asking the right questions at the right time is a highly effective sales technique. Would you like to know what to ask while closing a deal? Listen on and you'll find out. The first part, what is spin selling? The spin selling technique is used by salespeople all over the world for over 30 years now. This concept was first introduced by an English professor, Neil Rackham, in 1988. Let's have a look at the theoretical framework Rackham's concept is based on. Traditionally, salespeople are only focused on successfully closing a deal. Their only concern is the deal or the profit they gain from it. And for small transactions, this works wonderfully. But if you are in a large business doing complex sales transactions, your salespeople must be real masters of their craft. The difference between small and large transactions is that the small ones are one-offs, or the revenue is quite negligible. On the other hand, in the business world of grown-ups, the relationship between the buyer and seller is not limited to one transaction only, it lasts beyond it. A functional business relationship is a complex process, and there is a lot of other factors in this process besides managers. If you, for example, offer consultations or a product for a monthly fee, your business model must account for good customer service. Your clients buy the product, and you are here for them in the form of your customer support and other offered services. In the first part, we briefly introduced the spin selling concept. The art of asking questions represents the heart of this method. The right questions can persuade your clients that the offered product or service will solve all their issues. Now, let's have a look at what the right questions are to ask. The second part, 4 types of spin selling questions. We already know that the most important thing that salespeople can do is asking the right questions. Now, let's have a look at 4 question types of spin selling and apply them in real-life example situations. Spin selling is based on sets of questions that a skillful salesperson can use to gain the trust of the clients, identify their needs, and offer the right solutions. The SPIN abbreviation comes from the 4 question types that gradually prepare the client for accepting the sale offer. These are the 4 types. S. Questions related to the situation. P. Questions related to the problem. I. Questions related to the implication. And N. Questions related to the necessary profit. Now we dive deep into these 4 types, and we'll be using an example of a salesperson who sells CRM systems to companies. How does our salesperson approach a client based on the spin selling principles? Let's find out. First, the S questions related to the situation. The first type is called situational questions. The goal is to find out as much as possible about the clients and their position on the market. Who else can better tell you their requirements and ideas than the actual clients? Ask them right from the start, but make sure that this phase doesn't take too long. The question should be mainly related to the product or service you offer. The answers will tell you which of your solutions is the best for the given client. Salespeople must find out as much information as they can about the client before the actual meeting. During the meeting, focus on questions that only the client can answer, or on getting precise information about what you already know. If you are a salesperson and are well prepared for the meeting, you will also make a great first impression, which makes the following negotiation easier. So, what are the situational questions a salesperson offering a CRM system to a company might ask? First, you need to gather general information about the given company: how many employees it has, what its organizational structure is, and what its usual sales process is. Make sure to also find out why the company wants to implement a CRM system and what tool it currently uses. Ask what functions your CRM must have and how many employees from what departments will be using it. Basically, you must understand the client's situation and find out how your CRM system can help. Second, the P questions related to the problem. The problem questions will help you identify how the client is going to use your product or service. You'll find out what issues and problems the client is facing, and with the right questions, the client can also identify new issues they didn't even realize they had. This introduces the perfect situation to offer your product or service to the client, the solution for all their problems. This is the phase when you, as the CRM salesperson, are concerned about all the problems and obstacles your client is dealing with. Ask about the shortcomings and features their current system is lacking. You'll find out what your client doesn't like and how you can help. Third, the I questions related to the implication. Thanks to so-called problem questions, you'll discover the actual needs of your clients. Now is the time for questions about consequences, as it will help your client to realize all the potential negative impacts of not tackling any issues. You can, for example, compare the cost of an ongoing problem to a much lower price of your offered product. This is the phase when the client needs to get clear information that the product or service you offer will solve all their problems, and that your solution will even prevent the issue from reoccurring ever again. This saves them time and money in the long run, and that's an important message for every company. The implication phase is the most important part of spin selling. During this phase, the salespeople gather valuable information about clients' problems and how they're trying to fix them. This means that the salespeople must carefully prepare for these questions and carefully go over each and every one. During the implication phase, you, as the CRM salesperson, should ask your clients about the negative aspects and shortcomings of their old system. Find out how the system is not helping with the work effectivity and what are the resulting unnecessary time and money investments. Have relevant documentation at hand that clearly shows the purchase of your CRM system is worth it. Using the new software, the employees will be more effective and the clients more satisfied, resulting in them coming back. And that means more profit for the company. Fourth, the N questions related to the necessary profit. Make sure to point out the key benefits of your product or service before the end of the meeting. Now is the time to persuade your potential clients that you will make their problems go away. During this phase, a skillful salesperson easily manages any doubts and objections of the client. Also, make sure to ask the clients how important it is to deal with their recent problems and what benefits and savings it might introduce. Good questions will lead the clients to self-evaluation of the benefits your product or service offers, and then you are only one step away from closing the deal. The second question type is often overrated, but for a successful deal, the third and fourth types are the most important ones, which are questions about implications and necessary profit. Your questions must always follow a logical structure and be asked at the right time. As it's a two-way interaction, the key parts of spin selling are communication skills and the individual salesperson's ability to, as they say, feel the flow. In the second part of this podcast, we talked in detail about the 4 question types of spin selling. These are questions related to the situation, questions related to the problem, questions related to the implication, and questions related to the necessary profit. And we went over a few real-life examples. So, we know the theory and how to put it in action. Now, let's talk about the spin selling method in today's world of technology, internet, and social networks. The third part, the spin selling concept in the 21st century. Modern technologies and social networks changed most areas of our lives, including the business part of it. Let's talk about new perspectives of spin selling that were introduced by the technological development of the last decades. In 2017, Neil Rackham, the author of Spin Selling, attended a conference organized by the Association of Professional Sales. He explained why spin selling is still applicable in the 21st century. Web pages, social networks, or customer reviews, this all can help us gather a huge amount of information about our potential clients and their problems. And applying this data from the start of the business negotiations is a huge help to any salesperson. It allows us to skip the usual questions about typical clients of our clients or their competition. This gives us more time to discuss acutely important topics. And it also shows our clients that they are important to us. So, let's make the best use of all the possibilities of modern technology we have today. Let's dedicate enough time and effort to research and prepare before any business meeting. It's worth it. During his speech, Professor Rackham introduced his recent findings. Data showed that even today, most of the salespeople ask on average 4 times as much of the implication questions than questions of the other 3 types combined. This shows that today the implication questions are still a key part of spin selling. That's because your clients get a full understanding of the impacts and costs of any unresolved problems, and the salesperson must follow up on this and offer a suitable solution to the client. Using modern technology, salespeople are able to present their products and predict earnings resulting from the product implementation way better than ever before. And, as already stated, the more data you have about your client, the better. Based on the relevant information about the clients, you can offer them the perfect solution they need, tailor-made to all individual requirements of every single one. The third part of this podcast focused on spin selling in the 21st century, as this concept is still applicable even today. And thanks to modern technology, the possibilities it offers are even better than ever before. Let's now recap what we learned about spin selling today, and as a bonus, we'll tell you how to use spin selling to become a better, more successful salesperson. Today, we introduce the spin selling method. This method helps salespeople to identify the needs and problems of their clients by asking the right questions. The questions are then followed by offering the product as the best solution. We talked about the 4 question types used in spin selling, and we applied the questions in our example of a person selling a CRM system to companies. We also talked about how modern technology affects this 30-year-old selling method. Do you already know how to use spin selling to its fullest potential during your next business meeting? Look for companies that can make real use of your product. Use modern technologies, internet, and social networks to find out as much as you can about your potential clients prior to your first meeting. Good preparation allows you to have more time for relevant questions during the meeting, and it also shows your clients that you know them inside out, which is very important for a successful deal down the line. Master the spin selling method and use good questions to lead your clients to understand their problems. Then, simply offer them your perfect solution. And here is something we must ask. Is there any issue that a correctly implemented CRM system cannot solve? You have been listening to an eWay podcast. The article was written by Petra Kovakova, spoken by Cliff Coma. For more inspirational audio records, please visit our blog at blog.eway-crm.com, podcast section.